I was watching a music-related video and I heard the person mention music theory. This happens almost every time a music expert speaks about music. The same day, I decided to act on a thought that had been brewing in the background for some time. Why isn't there a story writing equivalent of music theory? I looked up writing theory and story theory. I'd never heard anyone mention it, but I wondered what I would find. The results were unhelpful or unrelated. The same day, I then remembered something. In the same way that music experts plug music theory, writing experts tend to plug one of three books: Story by Robert McKee, Anatomy of a Story by John Truby, and Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. That's bizarre to me. Music fans that want to learn music don't have to read multiple books by different musicians to learn. They have a singular field of study with a vast amount of details to go to. It's even a major in college. Meanwhile, writers have three main books that are recommended to read. So using my storytelling PhD, I decided to create the concept of story theory by combining common knowledge, the knowledge within these three books, and my own knowledge. Basic things that would go into there are the 4 pillars of story, 3-act structure, stakes, and show don't tell. More complex ideas that I could tackle are story beats, Chekhov's gun, 4-corner opposition, and wants and needs. To make story theory as effective as possible, I'll read through these 3 books and add everything that I feel is important or helpful to my videos. But it's a tragedy that writers can't go to one place to find all this information. I actually already have videos that I consider part of story theory where I create formulas for success in my view of writing. Although they mostly apply to battle manga, I'll make a playlist for these videos. Let's begin. The first thing I want to point out is the types of intelligence required of writing a good story. The triarchic theory of intelligence says that the 3 types are creative, analytical, and practical. Writing a good story takes mastery of the first 2. I can teach analysis, but I can't teach creativity. Just because a person can analyze art doesn't mean that they have the creativity to make art. Creativity allows the story to be unique and interesting, while analysis allows the story to follow the underlying guidelines of writing and be satisfying. Creativity is the idea, analysis is the execution. A great idea with a bad execution is as bad as a bad idea with a great execution. Music theory starts with the fundamentals and teaches the building blocks of music, so that's what I'll do here. What is a story? In the book Story by Robert McKee, the author says that a story is a series of acts that build to a last climax, which brings about absolute and irreversible change. I agree with most of this, but my definition is simpler. I believe that a good story is a chain of build-ups that lead to payoffs. The build-ups are part of the 4 pillars of story and are given a satisfactory conclusion by the time the story is finished. I came to this definition by separating what I'd consider a good story from a bad one. Let me tell you 3 short stories to show you my thought process. Story 1. I woke up today. I brushed my teeth. I ate food. I went to sleep. Story 2. My band teacher gave me a music sheet to practice. I practiced when I got home, but I wasn't very good. I went to sleep. Story 3. I was given a sheet of music to play in a week. I practiced the first day, but I was bad. I kept practicing throughout the week. On the day of the playing test, I played the best in my class. It's pretty clear that story 3 was the good one. Story 1 had no build-up or payoff, and story 2 had build-up that didn't pay off. This thought pattern is what led me to defining a good story as a chain of build-ups ending with payoffs. That brings me to the 4 pillars of story. These are theme, character, plot, and setting. As I said before, there are 4 categories that all build-ups and payoffs will fall under. I'll give examples of each pillar having payoff. Theme. A story establishes the hero's view and the enemy's view on a specific topic. In the final battle, the hero prevails, proving that their side of the theme was right. Character. A character having a flaw and changing, or a character having a goal and accomplishing it. Plot. A story having an event that creates a problem and the multiple events that lead into solving that problem. Setting. A MacGuffin or power system being established and eventually being a solution to a problem. As you can see, everything in the story, including the threads of build-up and payoff, falls into one of the pillars. Now I'll go over the importance of each pillar. The first and most important is theme. This is the message of the story and is a sentence. Look back at my 3 short story examples. Robert McKee calls them story values and defines values as the universal qualities of human experience that may shift from positive to negative or vice versa from one moment to the next. He also says that a writer must believe in what he writes, which I mostly agree with. A theme is essentially a storyteller telling their audience, I believe in this message and you should too. A paraphrased version of another one of his quotes is, storytelling is the creative demonstration of truth/theme. It is setting up a theme and then proving it, End quote. It can be a life lesson on how we should live, or it can be a philosophical question that is eventually answered. Like I said in my shonen versus seinen video, the complexity of a theme isn't as important as the execution. The theme can be as simple as, be nice to others. The way the theme is communicated to the audience throughout the story is more important. The theme is also the most important pillar because it's what the audience actually takes away from the story. It's the meaning behind the story's existence. The second pillar is character. These are obviously the people that the story and the themes are told through. If you have just a theme, you're essentially giving a speech to your audience. When you have characters and a plot to convey the message through, it becomes a story. Characters are the connection between the audience and the story. They help the audience easily comprehend the theme and potentially even create an emotional bond with them. In Persuasion, the rhetoric appeals are logos, pathos, and ethos. Logos is appeal to logic, pathos is appeal to emotion, and ethos is appeal to ethics. A story is like a persuasive essay, with the theme being the ethos argument, and the characters being the pathos argument. The plot is the logos argument, but I'll cover that next. The third pillar is plot. The plot is the set of events that takes place involving the characters. McKee defines a story event as an event that creates meaningful change in the life situation of a character that is expressed and experienced in terms of value and achieved through conflict. In The Anatomy of Story by John Truby, the author says that a story becomes preachy when there is an imbalance between moral argument and plot, which is similar to what I said before. Moral argument is a synonym for theme in this book. The plot should have characters moving towards their goal and eventually proving that the theme is right. The fourth pillar is setting. This is where the story takes place. The characters need events to move forward in time, but these events need a location to take place in. I put things like magic systems and MacGuffins in the setting, in addition to things like location, culture, and society. I believe that setting is the weakest pillar because of how small its contributions to the quality of a story are in comparison to the other pillars, but it's still important. Those are the basics of story. The building blocks of story are the 4 pillars, and a good story is made up of multiple threads of build-ups in these categories that all end with satisfying payoffs. In his book, McKee says quotes like, "Story isn't about rules, there is no way it must be done, and there is no foolproof model." I agree with most of this. It's not about rules, but there are guidelines and conventions. Those conventions still exist today because they were collectively effective tools in writing. There is absolutely no way it must be done. Story is subjective, and you'll see later that there are things I disagree with in the books I'm referencing. That's just how art is. Like with music theory, the guidelines can be broken, but when pros break them, it's often on purpose, not by accident. Like following the guidelines of music theory leads to good music, I am creating a story theory that will lead to good results in story by following the guidelines. But as I said before, simply understanding it doesn't ensure that you have the creativity to create good art. In future videos, I'll continue with the fundamentals and eventually get to analysis. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.